What's up? I guess let me just reading back. Fuck. The bottomless bucket list. All this talk of inboxes and washing machines risk giving the impression that feeling overwhelmed is solely a matter of having too much to do at the office or around the house. But there's a deeper sense in which merely to be alive on the planet today is to be haunted by the feeling of having too much to do. Whether or not you lead a busy life, in any conventional sense. Think of it as an existential overwhelm. The modern world provides all the words it use fucking difficult. All the words, all the vocab that all the adjective they use, it's fucking difficult as well. Like, it's fucking difficult as fuck. Shit. Have you ever heard of the adjective, the adjective version or adjective form of exist? It seems like there's adjective called existential, which I've never heard of. Fuck. What's going on here? And inexhaustible. Okay. Exhaustible supply of things that seem worth doing, though there arises an inevitable and unbridgeable. So there arise a gap between what you'd ideally like to do and what you actually can do. As a German sociologist Morse explains, pre-modern people want too much trouble by such thought, partly because they believed in afterlife. There was no particular pressure to get the most out of their limited time, because as far as they were concerned, it wasn't limited. And in any case, earthly life was but a relatively insignificant prelude to the most important part. Okay, they also tended to see the world as unchanging through history, or in some cultures as cycling repeatedly through the same predictable stages. You felt like a known quantity. You were content to play your role in the human drama, a role that countless thousands had played before you, and thousands more will play after your death, without any sense that you were missing out on the exciting new possibilities of your particular moment of history. In an unchanging or cyclical view of history, there never are any exciting new possibilities. Okay, but secular modernity changes all that. When people stop believing in an afterlife, everything depends on making the most of this life, making the most of this life. And when people start believing in progress, in the idea that history is headed towards an ever more perfect future, they feel far more acutely the pain of their own later lifespan. What a word! What a line! I mean, it's quite impressive, Anyway, acutely. Acutely. It's not acutely. It's acutely. Which means completely, and that means. They feel far causes them to, which causes them to missing out on almost all of that future. So they try to quell the anxieties by cramming their lives with the experience. In his translated introduction to our background religion, and then it writes, the more we can accelerate our ability to go to different places, see new things, try new foods, embrace various forms of spirituality, allow new activities, share sensual pleasures with others, whether it be in dancing or sex, experience different forms of art, and so on. The less incongruent there is between the possibility of the experience we can realize in our own lifetimes and the total array of possibility available to human beings now in the future, that is, the closer we come to having a truly fulfilled life in the literal sense of one that is as fulfilled as full of experiences that it can possibly be. I don't know what that means. That's too poetry, you know. So the rhetoric, what is it? Taking exotic destination off the bucket list. Taking exotic. That is stopping here. So the hedonist, I think that's her. So fun and arguably justice of our laws as an exhaustive social worker and our corporate lawyer. It's true that the things by which they're being overwhelmed are normally more enjoyable. It's true that things by which they are being overwhelmed are normally more enjoyable. It's certainly nicer to have a long list of Greek island left to visit than the long list of homeless families left to find housing for, or a huge stack of contracts left to proofread. What the heck is that? But it remains the case that their fulfillment still seems to depend on their managing to do more than they can do. This helps explain why stuffing your life with pleasurable activities so often proves less satisfying than you would expect. It's an attempt to the full experience the world has to offer, to feel like you've truly lived, but the world has an effectively infinite number of experiences to offer. So getting a handful of them under your belt brings you now closer to the sense of having feasted on your own life's possibilities. Instead, you find yourself pitched straight back into the efficiency trap. The more wonderful experiences you succeed in having, the more additional wonderful experience you start to feel you could have or ought to have on top of all those you've already had. And with the result that feeling of existential overwhelm gets worse. Interesting. Yeah. There's infinite activities you can do, which is gonna get worse when you actually, do a lot, do more than people do. So the more you do the activities that you have never done, I think the more options you have when you actually done that activity, when you actually done each activity. So if you do each activities, if you got like 3 activities, and even if you've done that activity, that could be still one of the list that like you want to do. So pretty much, so when it comes to work, if you try to do as much as you can do, after that, your bosses, your colleagues think that that you did a good job and try to give you a lot of tasks, and then like you got overwhelmed. So no matter how much you do, or no matter how well you do at work, you're gonna be suffered. You're gonna suffer. You're gonna suffer from like overwhelming amount of works and tasks. That's fucking shit. I I think that's a shit. But like, I'm totally convinced that like, the more you do, or the more you do at work, or the more work you do, you know, the more overwhelmed you are, and you know, when you work, and that's fucking shit. That doesn't make sense. I think people should have, you know, the exact same amount. It should not get worse. Perhaps it goes without saying. Makes it all much more agonizing because it promises to help you make better use of your time, while simultaneously exposing you to vastly more potential uses for your time, so that the very tool you're using to get the most out of your life makes you feel as though you're missing out on even more of it. That's me, you know. I'm the exact same one that this sentence just said, you know. I hate the phone because, you know, I try to make the most out of the time, but at the same time, that fucking phone just stole my time. And I feel like, oh, you know, I should have studied, like, why I should have studied instead of just, you know, just what is that, like watching YouTube and just browsing Instagram, and that's fucking shit. That's a waste of time. And I still think that. Anyway. For example, it's especially a way to stay informed about events you might like to attend, but it's also guaranteed a way to hear about more events you'd like to attend than anyone possibly could attend. Cupid is an efficient way of finding people to date, but also of being constantly reminded about all the other potentially more allowing people you might be dating instead. Allowing people. Agonize. What is agonize? What does agonize? Spend a lot of time trying to make a decision. Okay. The internet makes this all much more agonizing because it promises to help you make better use of your time, while simultaneously exposing you to vastly more potential uses for your time. Okay, vastly alternatives. Allure, the quality of being attractive. Okay, so like that means like attracting, I would say. So the very tool you're using. People you might be dating instead of email is make unparalleled to respond rapidly to a large volume of messages. But then again, if you want for email, you don't be receiving all those messages in the first place. If you want for email, you don't be receiving all those messages in the first place. Fucking technology we use to get them. Technology we use to try to get on top of everything always fail us in the end. Okay, because they increase the size of everything of which we. That's okay. It's so convincing. I should stop doing just time management system that purposes to take care of your intend to waste it. You probably won't even get around to the most important items on the list. Dedicate your retirement to seeing as much of the world as you possibly can, and you probably won't even get to see the most interesting parts. The reason for this effect is straightforward. The more formally you believe it would be possible to find time for everything, the less pressure you'll feel to ask whether any given activity is best used for a portion of your time. The less pressure you'll feel to ask whether any given activity is best used for or use your social calendar. Be strongly biased in favor of accepting it because you assume you didn't sacrifice any other tasks or opportunity in order to make space for it. Yeah, because in reality your time is finite. Doing anything requires sacrifice. The sacrifice of all the other things you could have been doing with the stretch of time. If you never stop to ask yourself if the sacrifice is worth it, your days will automatically begin to feel not just with more things, but with more trivial or tedious things, because they've never had to clear the hurdle of being judged more important than something else. I didn't get it, but just going on. Just go calmly. Do everything that other people want you to do to make their lives easier, and which you didn't think to try to resist. The more efficient you get, the more you become limitless, reserved for other people's expectations. In the words of management expert Jim Benson, in my days as a paid-up productivity geek. Okay, it was this aspect of the whole scenario that troubled me the most. Despite my thinking of myself as kind of person who got things done, it grew painfully clear that things I got done mostly diligently were the unimportant ones. When the products got postponed, either forever or until an imminent deadline forced me to complete them to the Medicare standard, and in a stressful rush. The email from my newspaper's IT department about the importance of reality changing my password would provoke me to speedy action, though I could have ignored it entirely. The clue was in the patent subject line, where the words "please read" was generally a sign you needn't bother. You don't need to bother reading what follows. Meanwhile, the long message from an old friend now living in the research for the major article I'd been planning for months would get ignored, because I told myself that such tasks needed my full focus, which meant waiting until I had a good chunk of free time, and fewer small but urgent tasks taking up my attention. And so, instead like the dutiful and efficient worker I was, I'd put my energy into clearing the deck, running through the smaller stuff to get it out of the way, only to discover that doing so took the whole day, and the decks filled up again anyway, and that the moment for responding to the new Delphi email, or for researching a milestone article never arrived. Why can you waste years this way? Systematically postponing precisely the things one cares about the most. Systematically postponing precisely the things that one cares about the most. What's needed instead in such a situation, and gradually came to understand, is a kind of anti-skill to the counterproductive strategy of trying to make yourself more patient, but rather a willingness to resist such urges. To learn to stay within the idea of feeling overwhelmed, not being on top of things without automatically responding by trying to fit more in. Without automatically responding by trying to fit more in. To approach your days in this fashion means, instead of clearing the deck, decline to clear the deck, focusing instead on what's truly of greatest consequences while tolerating the discomfort of knowing that as you do so, the decks will be filling up further with emails and errands and other to-do, many of which you may never get around to at all. You sometimes still decide to drive yourself hard in an effort to squeeze more in when circumstances absolutely require it. But that won't be your default mode, because you no longer be operating under the illusion of one day making time for everything. Okay. That won't be your default mode anymore, because you no longer be operating under the illusion of one day making time for everything. The same goes for existential overwhelm. What's required is a will to resist the urge to consume more and more experiences, since the strategy can only lead to the feeling of having even more experiences left to consume. Once you truly understand that you're guaranteed to miss out on almost every experience the world has to offer, the fact that there are so many, you still haven't experienced stops feeling like a problem. Instead, you get to focus on fully enjoying the tiny slice of experiences you actually do have time for. And the freer you are to choose in each moment what counts the most. Interesting. The freer you are to choose in each moment what counts the most. 포켓몬이야.抜いてるのさ、絵か。何こいつ、バケモン。Just finished reading